Welcome, everybody, to the April 16th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meetings. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agenda and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers. The commission now utilizes speaker request forms. If you'd like to speak on an item, please complete a speaker request form located at the bookshelf in the back of the chambers and return it to the commissioner clerk, our commission manager, or the clerk, located at the left and right side of the dais. At this time, I would ask Commissioner Roskinek to do the moment of silence and reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Roskinek. Next, that brings us up to item number 4, which is a review and approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lassiter.
I heard a movement first, so I'll let the.
I do have a motion for approval.
Second.
And seconded by Hadcock for discussion. Mr. Lassiter.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a substitute motion to approve the agenda, moving item 24A to right after 21A.
Second.
So a substitute motion was made to move item 24A up to, what'd you say after?
Right after 21A, I believe. That's items from Building Commission and then the action.
After 21A. Any discussion on substitute motion?
Chair,
Ms. Hadcock.
I think there's people in the public, it looks like, that want to speak, and usually when we have items that people want to speak on, so they're not having to stay through the whole agenda, even, I wouldn't mind it moving up even further, but if this is Travis's item, I think 21A is good, but I appreciate that the board is looking at that, so they don't have to stay through our whole agenda.
Mr. Lassiter, do you have any comments?
Nope, that would be my motion.
My suggestion is that it was advertised for 24A, and at this time, that's what the public expected it to be at. And I think it's a pretty important item, so I think keeping it at where it's at will keep the public with the notice that they have.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lester.
Now I have a comment on that. I agree, it was advertised on the agenda after 10:30. I would expect that it's going to be either real close to 10:30 or maybe even after 10:30 by the time we get through the regular agenda items. And so I think it still fits right in line with being able to meet the needs of the public for what they're here for this morning. That would be my statement on that.
Okay.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
I also believe that this item should have been on the agenda. It was posted with Lassiter on the agenda. It would have been like first reading just to go through it, see what we needed to do with it. I don't think it should have been put on 24A for discussion from the board. Many times I've seen other commissioners put their stuff on the agenda with no problem, including yourself last week or 2 weeks ago. I guess I'm not understanding why Lassiter was treated differently on this item. Thank you.
Okay. This item is on the motion on the floor, and the discussion is to move it up. That's the substitute motion to move it up to after 21A. Any further discussion? Seeing none, motion on the floor. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails 3-2.
Imagine that.
Original motion on the floor is to approve the agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
2 noes. Now we move on to our regular agenda. Next, we have item number 5 was an executive proclamation for National Crime Victims' Right Week. We have Laura Retzel Katie. Sorry, Katie. We do have a proclamation, and at this time, what I'll do is I'll read it for the record, and then I'll turn it over to you guys for comments. The executive proclamation from Pennington County, South Dakota, whereas the safety and well-being of all individuals within our community are paramount, and whereas the National Crime Victims' Right Week 2024 provides an opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to supporting and advocating for the rights of crime victims. And whereas this year's theme urges to examine our readiness to assist those who have experienced victimization, emphasizing the importance of creating victim-centered and trauma-informed environments. And whereas friendly family members, neighbors, colleagues, and community leaders, we have responsibility to be prepared to listen, support, provide assistance to those who confide in us about their experience. Whereas it is crucial to our organizations to be familiar with the services available in our community and to ensure comprehensive support and guidance for those in need. And whereas joining Pennington County State's Attorney's Office during the National Crime Victims' Right Week, we reaffirm the commitment to creating safe and supportive spaces for crime victims to share their stories, offering them hope and a path towards healing. Now therefore we, Pennington County Board of Commissioners of Pennington County, South Dakota, hereby proclaim April 21st to the 27th of 2024 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. We call upon the members of the community to join us in honoring the resilience of crime victims and in pledging the support of their rights, needs, and aspirations. Laura.
Thank you, Commissioners. Laura Retzel, as always, honored to be your state's attorney. With me today is Katie Urban, our Public Information Officer, and she has some comments for you.
Good morning. Thank you for recognizing Victims' Rights Week next week. We are excited to recognize and honor victims. We are going to resurrect some old traditions and we're going to start some new ones. One of the things that's going to happen next week on Tuesday at 2 p.m., and we hope you can join us, is we're going to do a dedication of a tree and a bench in honor of Victims' Rights Week. That's going to serve as an area that can be for future vigils, remembrances, that kind of thing. And so we're really grateful for Jolly Lane. They donated a tree, and McGass Propane has also donated a plaque, and they're also sponsoring our luncheon, which is on Thursday. Of course, you're all invited to that as well, and that is also sponsored by the Fraternal Order of Police, so we are super grateful for them. And outside of Victims' Rights Week, we're trying to do as much as we can to be responsive to victims more than ever before. We're holding victim listening sessions. We're getting communication out there about what's happening in our community, so that people know how to respond. That is crime prevention, sharing information in and of itself. So we're doing everything we can, not just during Victims' Rights Week, but outside of that as well.
Thank you, Katie. Is there any questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hadcock, seconded by Lassiter. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what was the date again?
Thursday.
April 23rd,
Third.
at 2 is the dedication.
2 o'clock. Okay, thank you, Katie. Next, that brings us up to the consent calendar, and I'll recognize Commission Manager Holly Hennies.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of April 2nd, 2024. Number 7 is to acknowledge the notice of intent to conduct a bingo from the Rochford Community Hall. Number 8 is to acknowledge the note of intent to conduct a raffle for the Rochford Chapel. Number 9 is to acknowledge the notice of intent to conduct a raffle for the Quinn Volunteer Fire Department. Number 10 is approval of the letter of the South Dakota Department of Transportation regarding Interstate 90 local road crossing study. Number 11 is approval of the second quarter 2024 local emergency management planning grant. Number 12 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of March 2024. And finally, number 13 is approval of the joint powers agreement for weed spraying services between South Dakota Department of Transportation and Pennington County.
Thank you, Holly. At this time, is there any members from the public who wish to remove any items from the agenda? Seeing none, at this time, is there any commissioners who wish to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, this brings us up to item number 14, South Dakota Game Fish and Parks and Wildlife Damage Management Presentation. And I'll recognize Mr. Sean Marsick.
Marsick, yes, sir.
Marsick. You're the Wildlife Damage Specialist?
Correct. Yeah, so I'm the wildlife damage specialist for Pennington County. What that means is I help people in Pennington County with any issues they have with wildlife, most notably predator control. So most of what I do is with livestock loss due to coyotes, mountain lions, bobcat, whatever it may be. But we also do deer damage assistance, people that have hay, stored grain, different things like that. The deer coming in, we put up fencing. Same thing with elk, we put up elk cable, different things. Turkey damage, turkey coming in, eating stored grains, getting on the hay bales, we put up netting. Goose, that's more of a damage for East River, but prairie dog control, we also do that here in Pennington County.
I don't mean to interrupt you,
Oh, sorry.
Sean. Our screen's,
Oh, it's behind you, but it's not on.
yeah,
Okay. Right. So, I don't know if you want me to just give a generalization of.
well, there we go. We got it now.
Okay.
There we
I didn't
go.
know if I was supposed to do something or not, but.
Nope, you're fine.
So what you can see here is our annual report. This is given out each year. There is a copy of this on our website, South Dakota Game Fish and Parks.gov. But this shows a general idea of what we do. The purpose of what we do is generally to help out people in Pennington County. This is the fencing that we put up for the deer and elk every winter. Damage due to beavers, we do a lot of damage control. They cut down trees, it's economical damage, but they also dam things up, so we stop that from flooding roadways. Put these tarps up to help with the grain and loss of damage for stored grain. As you can see here, Pennington County, that's me. I've got a little bit of the Meade County area as well. These maps are all available on South Dakota Game Fish and Parks.gov. And we lost the feed again for everyone, but
I think
there we go.
There we
Going a little bit too fast, but this is all available. Like I said, mainly what we do is the predator control. So Pennington County alone, what we've given, excuse me, a total of $45,219 alone towards predator control in Pennington County. In Pennington County for other than predator control, a total of $130,686. So that includes the prairie dogs, the elk, the deer, the turkeys. That's just for Pennington County alone. This is all inside this report. This report, I believe, was given to the commissioners prior to the meeting, handed out. This is also available to everybody on the back desk over there if you wanted to look through it. This is kind of a breakdown of what percentage of what we do plus the amount. This is per state, not broken down into Pennington County alone, but unfortunately. So here you can kind of see what we have statewide, but it's also broken down into county. So this right here is what 63 different things that we've done in Pennington County. That's just me. I've responded to 63 different items in Pennington County, whether they are coyotes, geese, beaver, prairie dog, deer, or elk. Coyotes and fox only is 19. And then Coyotes and Fox resulted in about $4,000 worth of loss to people in Pennington County. That's, again, livestock loss. 13 beaver requests. Took 31 beaver out of this Pennington County. Maps are a little bit smaller, but you can see that we've taken. Oh, all right. So elk, we got 8 requests in Pennington County. Mule deer, whitetail deer, 3. No turkey requests, 2. Canada goose requests. Prairie dog control is pretty hot in for our heat map requests. A total of 18 in Pennington County. But I just wanted to give a general overview of what Game and Fish does. My position as a wildlife damage specialist, we go out there and help out people in Pennington County. Pennington County itself does give. Last year was $3,511 to Game and Fish in order to help with our wildlife damage management program. And then again, we give back what we can in services, which totaled $175,905 for 2023, just in Pennington County alone. So that's a general idea of what we do, and then I just leave it open for any questions or if anybody wants any more information, of course, stuff on the back.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Roskinek.
Yeah, just a couple questions. The first is, what methodology do you use to measure loss? You know, a lot of these slides that said they had a number specific to the amount of loss relative to a particular predator. So how do they measure that?
So loss is measured by, it depends on what the loss is. So for example, if it is livestock, we take the livestock, say it's a calf that is lost, the age of the calf, what the calf could have been, the breed of calf, whether it's Hereford or whatnot, there's a scale that we go off of, and that says 3-day-old calf, 4-day-old calf, would have made it, would not have made it. So I respond to it. I find the animal. I make sure that it was alive, that it has walked around, that it was in fact killed by predators. And then we put that into an averaging system, and then that spits out a number. So that number is then given.
So these are claims that have been filed in.
This is, so landowners call me personally and they say, hey, something killed something. And I go out there and I say, it sure did. And I take what it is and I put that into our deal. And I say that would have been, at this point, $300 worth of calf.
So I noticed beavers taken 1,126. So is the practice to trap the beaver and kill them, or is the practice to take the beaver, relocate them to areas where they can be productive?
Most of the time, unfortunately, it is to euthanize them. We don't really have any areas that we can take them and relocate them. They're so prominent that they're just everywhere. So if we were to take some from A and move them to B, unfortunately, it just wouldn't work out well. We do have a program of moving them within the hills, but that's from public area to public area. I only work on private property. So anything that's public is just free reign for all wildlife. So wildlife can do what it does. I respond to private landowners in Pennington County.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any further questions for Sean? The only question I'd have is on the prairie dog. We've gotten some concerns on that. How does that work?
So landowners that have issues with prairie dogs, if they are within 1 mile of state or public land that has an existing prairie dog town, then they can call for assistance, and South Dakota Game Fish and Parks will go out there and work with the landowner, whether it's baiting, poison control. They'll go out there and assist with taking out the population.
And that's strictly on private property?
Strictly on private property adjacent to public property that has an existing prairie dog town.
Okay.
But the main thing is anybody that has any wildlife issues should call the Outdoor Campus West and tell them, and then they funnel it down to the proper personnel. I don't personally take care of the prairie dog stuff. I take care of all the large mammal type things. So, but the Outdoor Campus West, they take care of the handing out who gets what to call.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. Any further questions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Russell?
So who do you call when you catch a skunk in a live trap?
That's unfortunately up to the person that catches the animal. So if you put the trap out and you catch something, it's up to you to dispose of the animal properly.
No, that's a good question, because I've seen people do this and they really don't know how to do it right.
Of course, and I get that call all the time, and I do provide technical assistance, so I get that call and I tell them pretty much how to do it. It's unfortunately messy and it doesn't smell very good, but, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, some of those don't have happy endings.
right.
Thank you.
Well, appreciate it, Sean. Any final comments?
Nope, my information is on the back over there, and if anybody has any questions, like I said, Outdoor Campus West is the best first stop. Give them a call or go on our website. And
Okay,
Well, thank you for coming today.
thanks, Sean. Next, we have item 15, and this is Elevate Rapid City's Tech Hub Innovation District presentation from Mr. Garth Wadsworth. Garth, you have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Garth Wadsworth with Elevate Rapid City. Thanks for the time this morning. I realized I had not done a great job of communicating the Tech Hubs program to the county, and so we're here today to give you an update. So for those of you who are not aware of the program, this is a new effort from the EDA. They were looking at some of the efforts to onshore semiconductor manufacturing and saying, what is the next iteration of this? What is the next industry that is critical to national defense and economic competitiveness? And how do we prevent that industry from leaving the United States in the first place? And so they came out with this program. The program required two things. It required you to develop a consortium of at least 5 different member types. You had to have a unit of local government, Institute of Higher Education, Economic Development Organization, private sector employers, and then a state workforce board. It also required you to choose a key technology focus area. They had a list of 10 very broad areas. You had to choose something within that list that you were competitive in based on your private employers, job creation prospects, and research capacities. So these are the 10, the ones bolded. It's a combination of technology focus areas that we chose. We're focusing on robotics and automation, disaster prevention, and advanced energy and industrial technologies. That means a lot, but basically we are looking at mining technology and autonomous mining equipment, which is also part of the reason I wanted to come in front of you today. These are office jobs. These are engineering jobs. This program is not looking to promote any kind of active mining operation within the Black Hills. We are strictly looking at mining technology. Obviously, that will lead to mining somewhere in the world at some point, but today we're not looking at active mining operations in the Black Hills. Okay, so we submitted this application back in December. We were awarded a strategy development grant. The program is broken out into really 2.5 phases. Phase 1, you had 2 options. You had strategy development or Tech Hubs designation. We did apply for both. We were only successful in achieving that strategy development assistance. So they say, you've got some kind of potential within this industry. We think it's going to be key to the competitiveness of the United States. We want to help you develop that plan out, but you're not quite ready for designation as an official tech hub. If you do receive that tech hub designation, you are then eligible for phase 2 money. This is where the good stuff is. They have large public-private investments to help develop that industry out. They have not launched those funds yet, but we do expect those phase 2 funds to be hitting the road for those communities on the map shown in blue in the near future. So the goal for us is to get from our strategy development status to official tech hub designation within the next 18 months. Okay, so I mentioned all the different kinds of industry and community partners you were required to have in that consortium. So obviously, our organization, Elevate, is the economic development organization. We were fortunate to get the city of Rapid City to participate in this, and I'll explain why they're key. There's only one qualifying labor organization in the state, that is the State Workforce Board. They agreed to participate. We have South Dakota School of Mines. We also have Western Dakota Tech participating as institutes of higher education. And then we have 2 local employers in the mining and mining technology space, who are participating. We also have the Sanford Underground Research Facility up in Lead, SUF, and we didn't need them as part of the consortium, but they have been included in that and will be in the decision-making team. So this is everyone who's participating. We've got more higher ed institutions than we need, and then we have SUF as well. And so the program requires us to define a tech hub region. We have Pennington, Meade, and Lawrence counties. It's the combined statistical area for the three-county area. And so that is our region. That is the tech hub that the EDA has agreed to help support. So we're looking at autonomous mining equipment, advanced underground decarbonization solutions, and then mining operational safety and automated systems. So what does this mean? Everything that is required to help a mine operation function safely and efficiently, everything from above ground and underground autonomous mining equipment to personnel tracking and safety, communicating systems deep underground, technologies that don't require reliance on GPS, because there is none, obviously, and then reclamation activities, so water treatment, runoff, what are we doing to mitigate the impacts of those mining operations, and how do we help those operate safely? So again, we're looking at mining technology. This is not focused on active mining operations at this time. Okay, so we were awarded the Strategy Development Grant. We're going to use that for two major projects. First one being a market and workforce assessment. So the goal with this is to understand what is the total global market potential of this technology area. And then based on our capacity as a three-county region, that includes our investments in research activities, our workforce pipelines, how many people are we graduating, how much private and public capital do we have to support these activities, how much of that global market potential can we reasonably expect to accommodate here in the Black Hills? So we'll have a big number, 10 billion, 100 billion, we're not sure what that is. And then what percentage of that can we expect to accommodate here in the Black Hills? And then we take that number, that small percentage, and then we are hoping to develop a place-based innovation strategy. And so based on the number of people, the number of jobs, the number of, or the amount of capital required to bring this to fruition, what do we need in terms of office space, commercial space, research space, but also housing? What kind of infrastructure do we need to accommodate those key pieces, and how do we arrange those within an innovation district? Oh, this is not showing up well. Okay, so what is the future potential of that key technology focus area? Who is going to fill those jobs, and what do we need to invest in as a community to fill those jobs? And then how do we arrange it within the innovation district? So the key piece for the innovation district is the downtown from east of 5th to the School of Mines campus. That's where we are looking for a number of reasons. One, we have the workforce potential. Right? School of Mines is an international leader in this field, and it's something that we do best as a community, but we understand that they have challenges. We also have the ability to accommodate all kinds of amenities, office space, commercial space, that is necessary to support this industry growth. There's a lot of opportunities. So what are the key sites? What are the key facilities? And how do we make sure that our public investments in those areas are in line with what we're trying to build within the innovation district? So this has some implications for the county. Obviously, this will be in and around the county campus. We'll be looking at land close to or adjacent to the county, but also by concentrating this development downtown, we alleviate some of that growth pressure. So we reduce sprawl, we reduce that infrastructure liability on the outskirts of town. We also increase property tax values by per acre basis. So we increase that revenue to the county as well as the city. It's a rough map. starting at Fifth Street, kind of connecting the historic downtown core to the South Dakota Mines campus. Obviously, the county falls right in the middle. So this planning process will begin the first week of May. We have a deadline for this Friday for responses for the consulting work, April 19th. We will have 2 weeks for the consortium to review the responses, conduct interviews with the consultants, and in the first week of May, we hope to have a decision made. Once we have that made, the consultants will come to town. We will make sure that they are meeting with all the relevant stakeholders. With your approval, we would hope that that is including the county staff, so the planning department, possibly the facilities department. And the first step that they will do is to review all existing plans. So everything from the South Dakota Mines campus plan, Rapid City comprehensive plan, Pennington County plan, the facilities plans, to make sure that we're considering all the already identified needs and challenges of the relevant stakeholders, and then put those into a format that helps plan out the innovation district. So, no action needed from me today. It's just an update on the program and how we intend to use those funds. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
relative to the strategy development grant, what was the dollar amount of that grant?
All said and done, it's about $500,000 from the EDA.
500,000, is there a time frame that that's got to be used?
Yes, we have 18 months. We had to push back the start date, but we're looking at end of summer, early fall in 2026.
Can it be extended?
It can be, yes.
And then relative to private investment, can you give me an example of private investment under your pinch points and fixes?
Sure. So hypothetically speaking, if through this planning process we identify a need for, let's say, a large student housing project, not expected, but a good example, within the downtown core, right within that district, someone's got to pay for that, right? But we also need to make sure that the adjacent infrastructure is in place. So do we have road capacity, water capacity, sewer capacity to accommodate what would be a substantial private investment? That would apply for office space, research space, whatever it may be. And so are we coordinating both public and private? And then is the private investment sufficient to cover the costs of those public investments? If it's going to cost $1 billion to upgrade the road, and this project is only going to generate $100,000 in tax revenue over 50 years, does it really make sense to the taxpayer? So are they on equal footing?
How can the county government participate?
So step one is participating in the planning process, making sure that they're an identified stakeholder, that we are integrating all of the plans you have already, so your facilities plan, comp plan, and then we will be identifying key sites in the downtown core that will have, we don't know what the proposed uses will be, but there will be some kind of proposed development scenario that will help with this goal, right, the overall goal, in which case we would want to have a conversation with the county and see what that partnership looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further questions for Garth?
Thank you, Garth. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Garth. Well, both those presentations went a lot faster than expected. Now we're on to item number 16. And this one is a public hearing. It's supposed to be advertised at 9:15. So what I'd look for is a motion to table this until 9:15.
Past 9:50.
It's past 9:15.
Oh, jeez. Well, with that, I will recognize Cindy Moeller. My computer still says 8:41.
You're just a little slow. Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Moeller, Pennington County Auditor. The first item that I have before you is Budget Supplement Resolution SP 24002. I don't know if Barry wants to speak to the gift, I guess that you would call it, for that his staff won, which will be the revenue support for the supplement for $2,500.
Mr. Tice.
Good morning, Barry Tice, the Director of Pennington County Human Services in the Veteran Service Office. Thanks, Cindy, for inviting me up here to talk about this. Couple of things. We have staff members who participate with the Vakurovich Foundation, have for a number of years. And so they entered a drawing. A number of different representatives from organizations all over Rapid City. And one of the staff members who participates in the Coaches Network was selected for this prize. So we're going to use it a couple of different things in our office, and I outline those in the memo because at this point we don't have any way to. I've purchased some items for staff to use, but we also we have random times where we buy socks and underwear and winter gear for clients that utilize our office in the care campus, and so it's a pretty cool deal, and it'll be helpful for not only our employees but the clients we serve.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
Well, I just visited you and one of your VSOs the other day, and your manager, basically, Alex. I like visiting the care campus. There's a lot going on there, and there are a lot of innovative ideas that they're coming with to help our community. So this is one more area that we could move forward with, and like we say, not a handout, a hand up, and you've done that best at the care campus with many organizations, not just with the county. So thank you, Barry.
Any further questions or comments for Barry? Not, I'd look for a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, I
Mr. Roskinek.
move to approve Budget Supplement Resolution SP 24-002.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Barry. Item B.
Next item that we have is the new retail on-off sale wine and cider license for Black Forest Inn Bed and Breakfast.
Is there any questions for Cindy on this? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
move to approve the new retail on-off sale wine and cider license for Black Forest Inn Bed and Breakfast.
Motion made by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Item C. Cindy.
This is our request to actually enter into an agreement with Tyler Technologies for software that will help link 3 different offices together for the purposes of values, levies, producing tax bills, collecting that, and apportioning out those dollars. We've been working on it, working with Tyler for 3 years. I maybe even started that conversation 4 or 5 years ago with them. They were in the process of upgrading their software to version 10. So we wanted to wait until they got that part up and running. Lincoln County is using that version right now, and they're very pleased with it. I've worked very closely with IT. They've worked really hard with us. Annette, the treasurer, has been in on several of our meetings when we were trying to determine what programs IT currently has that we would possibly be losing if we move to Tyler. We've identified different customs that they're willing to work with us on, got a price for that. There are several other items that we brought to their attention that they're going to do because basically they would be good for any user within South Dakota. So it's been a long process, but we're finally ready to move forward with the project.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lester.
Couple questions, Cindy. So it's going to do everything you need it to do?
You know how salesmen are, yes.
Okay, and then my next question is, I want to make sure I'm understanding the numbers right. The current software, Springbrook, it cost you originally $401 and $358 to purchase, and this new one's going to cost $310 to $30 to purchase, so a little bit less?
It is. The difference is that we aren't going to actually own the software and we won't host it here.
It's cloud-based, so
Yep.
that's what a lot of entities are doing nowadays. And then my next question, Mr. Chair, so our annual maintenance fee before was 61,350. So now we're going to have a higher annual fee of 207,000.
That is correct.
What is that all encompassing? And I just want to kind of understand, because that seems like a large jump.
They are hosting everything on their side. Any upgrades that they do, we will automatically get. Currently, with Springbrook being hosted on the server here, we're on version 18. We haven't had any sort of upgrade since, I think it was 2018. And they aren't offering any upgrades unless we go to the cloud, in which case it would cost us about the same. But we wouldn't have that tie-in with the treasurer's office and with Director of Equalization's office for the values.
Okay, there's a key piece to that. So if we want to, gotcha. Thank you.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
So, you budgeted 360 for this, is what it says on here?
We have, we've budgeted for the annual piece, the treasurer's office and I, this year. And then we have been budgeting for a reserve for that over the last few years. So currently we have 360,000 in the reserve for that.
So you're buying it for 401, you've already paid for it? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Is this 24 or 25? I guess I'm not. I'm looking the recurring fees,
we will
travel and
start,
training.
we will start the project in '24.
Okay,
And so some of the funds will be dispersed in '24, the rest will be dispersed in '25.
okay, so you have 360 in reserves, or how much do you have in reserves?
In reserves, we have 360.
Okay, and the program is 401,
The
one-time fee?
the software itself is 310,230.
Okay,
And that's for them to come in and help us do all the conversion and training on that. And then the annual fee
Okay, so
will be
you're-
207,931 for the first 3 years.
and that's what I have. I apologize, 310, 230 for your 2024 start, and then your conversion is 207, 931, which leaves you about $150,000 difference because it was, what, 61, 350, right? And then between the 360, you have about 100,000. Do you have that in your budget extra this year?
Yes, the treasurer and I both budgeted this year as if we were going to implement this year.
Okay, so does that take all your reserves? And you say on here, this will cover the one-time fee and any cost for travel training that may need to occur? So
We
what were
will do
your
our best to limit their travel here because obviously it's going to cost us a lot less to do
trained?
online training. So we will, do our best to not spend all of that 360 for the conversion process, but there is a possibility we may.
Okay, so you had the 360, then you had 310, so you only had 50. But you also put in 61 every year. Like I said, you were 150 short then, Cindy, but then based on what you just said, are you still short the 150 and then you budgeted that? Is that what you're saying?
We did budget for that fee in '24. So it is in our budget. We're not short anything in our budget except for what we would need for a supplement as we pay out of the reserves.
So
And
you
then
had the
reserves would have to be supplemented to our budget.
So you had the 207, 931 in there
Yes,
because you were paying 61, 350. You already put in the 207, 931 in 2024. So then you
Yes.
wouldn't have been short. So then you would have had about $50,000 extra in your reserve.
well, we still have to pay the Springbrook fee until we're completely done with them. So I budgeted for both this year. The annual fee for Springbrook and then also the annual fee for the Tyler Technology software.
So so if you had both and it was 310, 230, and you already put the reserve for 207, 931, then you're still, because you're doing both. Holy crap. So you were doing this conversion and you have a 401 fee, and then you have a 207, which is what, 6?
The 401 was for purchasing Springbrook.
Okay. And the 360 is for this one, but you already paid the 401, 358 this year.
No, the 401, 358
One-time
was
fee.
paid in
Yes,
2014
18. Okay,
when we changed to the Springbrook software.
I apologize. So you have a one-time fee of 2013, 2014, or 401 that you already paid. Then you've been paying the 6150 all the way up to 24. So the only thing you're paying this year is 6150, 61,350. because you're going to continue it on until you switch over to the new one, which is 207,931, right, for the fee every year, and that you're going to put the new one in this year as well for the 310,230 to do the conversion.
It will be paid out, the 310 and the 207 for the Tyler Technologies will be paid out in 24 and 25, somewhere between that, as we're doing the conversion.
Okay, and you won't have a supplement this year for any of this?
Potentially we will. It depends on how far we get with the project.
Okay, this is what I'm asking, I guess, at
That
this
would
point.
come from that assigned reserve.
Okay. So assigned reserve means you already had it reserved in the first place.
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
We've been budgeting for
I
that.
just needed to understand all these numbers because there's a lot of numbers going from one to the other, missing. And I do think it's well needed. I just needed to know the conversion and how you were doing that with your budget that you have now.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Cindy.
Thank you. Mr. Drews.
Cindy, so I see that you have your office, the treasurer's office, equalization, and IT director involved in this. Are there other departments that will need to come into this at a later point in time, or?
Yes, there are. Currently in Springbrook, all of the departments enter their vouchers and all of their cash receipts. So we will continue to do that same thing within Tyler. So we will be bringing them on board for training when we start that conversion process.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
You done? Mr.
Cindy, one of the
Roskinick.
things that I liked about this was that it'd eliminate the need for IT to continue to maintain and program in-house software. And the fact that currently 21 South Dakota counties utilize Tyler Finance and tax software. So I think it's good to get in, to fit in where others are doing, because we have problems. If we can reach out to other 21 counties and they might be able to help us. So I think it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, it gives us a little bit of level of comfort that they already know what's going on in South Dakota.
Exactly.
Is there any further questions for Cindy? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
It's been moved to authorize auditor to sign the software as a service agreement with Tyler Technologies, and seconded by Mr. Laster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Cindy. Next, this brings us up to item 17 from Buildings and Grounds, and I'll recognize Director Davis Purcell and Construction Manager Kevin Burton.
Morning, Commissioners. Kevin Burton, Construction Manager. A few items before you today. We're asking for authorization to advertise to bid the 900 Concourse building. As you're aware, we purchased the building to house the administrative offices from here, and we'd like to get the construction going on that so that some of the outside work can be done this year, and it makes a good winter project for contractors out there. So, and for any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Ms. Hadcock.
So I know at one time we had it at 7 million for the remodel, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we had a budget range.
Okay, I think the most was like 7 million on it. I just wondered if we have any cost estimates or anything before we start, because we don't, is this including the fixtures, the furniture, the equipment, the stuff that's in there, or just the remodel with none of that changed at this point?
Most of the FF&E, the furniture and fixtures, are repurposed within the building. There will be some FF&E that needs to be added, some additional desks. We're only supplying desks as part of the construction project. Anything additional would be above and beyond. The prices that are in the memo, $6,300,000, is the base bid estimate for just the building renovation. That was done by the professional estimation from the consulting agency.
Okay,
The supplementary prices are for the new B&G shop out there to house the plows, the mowers, the forklift, all of the other equipment that's necessary to operate that building out there. That's 660 or 560,000 from that same estimate. 110,000 for a new approach Currently, the parking lot has 508 parking spaces, and there's only one way in, one way out. It's not the best safety practice to only have everybody landlocked by only one way in or out of that property. So adding a second approach would be our preference. That's 110,000. And then the south parking lot has some settling and some needs of repair. And that was estimated to be $430,000 to repair that back parking lot. So that would be the first item I would value engineer out of this estimate. But we really don't know what they're all going to come at until we actually receive bids.
Okay, so when we were doing the 9 million with the city, that was exactly for this building, and we didn't sign the contract for that 9 million. Was that 9 million put towards this building, or any of it put towards the concourse when they decided that they weren't gonna put the 9 million in with us? Was that just for this Justice Center or this old administration building?
We've only had estimates. We've never had a contract or an agreement with the city to do anything.
Right.
We've only estimated projects, and that would only be for shared space that we share with the city. So it has nothing to do with 900 Concourse.
Okay, that's why I was wondering if we had any of that made a difference, because when I agreed with that, it's because I thought there was a contract signed for 9 million that was gonna help us with the cost of this building, because we were buying that one. So, at this time, I know that there's no more than 9 million. The city without saying anything bad about them, we didn't have a signed contract, so that was our fault, but, just, my worry is that we bought this building and okay, it was a good building. We're moving forward with it, appreciate it. But this is just one building that we're already running over the 7 million at this point. I know right now the cost for building right now is huge. The numbers are going higher and higher. I don't say it's staying in that $7 million range. Then what we need to do after that is we need to remodel this building, and then we bought another building across the street. My worry is the cash flow that's coming from all this, and I haven't been in favor of the jail since the beginning, because it needed new infrastructure, it needed new stuff. My worry is all this money and where it's coming from. We had a $45 million bond, and a lot of that goes to the jail, and I appreciate that, because it was supposed to be 32 million. It could have cost up to 56 at the time, Brian, and Kevin been working really hard in their team to try to keep those numbers where it makes it efficient and effective. But then where's the rest of the cash flow coming from? Because that bond is only 45. So I'm worried about the buildings and grounds. I'm worried about them being able to take care of all these buildings with a reserve of $1 million or $2 million. 800,000 is all we give these guys a year. It's not enough to take care of all these buildings and all the stuff that's moving forward. That's a lot of buildings. I don't know. I don't know how you guys survive with the team you have, because this is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, and we've added 2 new buildings to it, and we were short on people for a while. So and trying to hire people right now has been a huge process for even the private sector. So my worry, and it will keep being, to finish Concourse, to finish this building, make sure the jail, and I believe at this point, the money that was used across the street should have never been purchased on the building because of those costs. And I would hope that that jail gets what it needs out of all of this, because it was well needed before we even bought the administration building, so.
Any further questions for
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I
Roskam?
think we can all agree that this building, when it was designed and built, it was not large enough to accommodate future needs. So here we are 10 years later, trying to figure out what to do. I feel that the decision that we've been making with the additional properties, it's going to maybe not help us so much, but I think it's really going to help future administrations 10 or 15 years out. And I think that was the initial goal. It wasn't what do we need now? Where do you got to be 15 years from now? And I think that's where we're trying to figure out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drews.
I'd make a motion to move to authorize Buildings and Grounds to advertise the Pennington County Office renovation project at 900 Concourse Drive for bid.
It's been moved by Drews,
Second?
seconded by Roskinick. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is the request for bid for 14 St. Joe Street. Kevin.
Once again, we have some additional square footage that we need to develop for the offices that are moving into there. We will be acting as the general contractor as much as we can on this project, but we still, to meet South Dakota procurement law, we need to publicly advertise for anything over $50,000. So the easiest way to do that is to advertise the project as a whole and then solicit the sub bids from there. So that's our intent with this project, to try to control costs and keep those costs down. I know there's opposition to spending money on this building, but we own it and we should finish building it out for those departments we plan to move in there. So this is the least expensive route we've found that we can take to do that, and I'd like to seek authorization to bid this project so we can move it forward.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
So Kevin, so far you've moved some individuals into that building at this point in time.
All of Buildings and Grounds has moved into that.
All the Buildings and Grounds has moved?
Yep.
So did you have to maintain anybody back at the old building? I know the boilers and so forth are in that.
So we've kept the basement area of the original jail. It houses our paint room and some planned storage and the original kitchen for the original jail. And that's supplementing as a break room for custodial staff in the public safety building, for the courthouse, and for our jail maintenance people to be able to have a space without having to come down to 14 St. Joe.
And on the public defender's office, is any of that office been relocated at this point?
Not until any of the construction is completed. They do have a lease that comes due in December for their juvenile department, and so we're hoping to get all of the construction completed before their lease comes due. That way we can relocate their juvenile department and save the money from that lease.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair,
Mr. Lester.
what's the cost of that lease? Do we know?
I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, Mr. Chair, follow up. So, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding this on here. Phase 1 was 300 and you spent all 300, is that correct?
That's correct.
Phase 2 was 300 and you only spent 100,000 because there's a remaining 200,000?
That's correct.
And then, so you have 200 to carry over into Phase 3. Are you in Phase 3 right now?
No, phase 3 is what we're asking to advertise.
Phase 3 is what you're asking to advertise. And where's that 200,000 from? And then where's the rest of that 620, or the rest of that 525 to 625 coming from? Is that from the,
We were approved discretionary spending twice for 300,000 each time. So that's phase 1 was 300,000. We were approved for that discretionary spending that's been depleted. The second phase of discretionary spending was approved here. We've spent 100,000 of it, and we don't see needing the other 200,000, so that would be transferred into phase 3.
okay, and where did those, I understand discretionary spending, but where did those funds come from? That wasn't from the general fund. Was that from our $800,000 capital budget or
Not the 800,000, it's from capital projects fund.
capital projects funds?
The bond and ARPA proceeds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion?
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
So, we've moved forward with the building, understand, but, and people know from the beginning, I've been here almost 10 years, and the planning process was never to buy that building across the street. For me, for two departments, I liked Buildings and Grounds and jail were two of the projects that I thought we should do, but we also have some more Buildings and Grounds across the street. And I think we could have been more innovative of what we've done with the money. So you have a strategy development grant that's coming, and this was the corridor. There was, and I was on the city council when this was called the heart of our city. we had a downtown revitalization program that was going on. I have said this from the beginning of buying that building. I've had many people very upset that we have bought that building at this time because of the downtown district, because of the plans that we're moving forward and the innovative district that they're going to do now. This county just messed up some of those plans by doing this project and discounting that these people have been working hard in the downtown district to move this forward and even elevate. So I don't know if anybody else has got phone calls and stuff, but they asked what our county was doing. That's not none of your fault, because that was our fault. We paid $5 million for this building, and now we're gonna remodel it for supposedly up to 1.65. That meant money could have been used for roads, drainage, water, and sewer in Pennington County for infrastructure, something that was more needed than two departments in that building at this time. So we still have to remodel that building. We have to remodel this building. We have to finish the jail, something that we needed. And then there's infrastructure we need. And then we have wage increases here. We have software we have to buy. There's insurance that went up. There's utilities going up. We have to pay more people to run more buildings. Does anybody get the costs of all of this and what it's going to cost by the time we're done? And how much does the budget? Budget went up 10 million last year. You guys only have, I'll keep saying 800,000 in your budget. You have only about 3 million in reserves. And you got to take care of $398 million worth of buildings. And if anything major breaks, $3 million is gone. I think that's the craziest thing we've ever done, is just keep buying buildings and keep spending on stuff when we don't know the overall budget and how much we've spent already. So again, that's not your fault. You guys have to live with this, because you guys are going to have to get the jobs done and pay for these jobs and ask us, how are we going to pay for it? You have done a great job trying to do what you guys do best. But I think it discounted your positions, your people and your team, what you have to do, and what this county at this time has been doing to the citizens by increasing budgets and stuff, because we decided we had to have a building for two departments across the street. I'm disappointed. I think your downtown's disappointed. I think your innovative district is disappointed, because we never thought about it. Kept saying stop. It's the worst thing I ever seen for spending in my 16 years of doing politics. You always have to do the jails. You always have to do the infrastructure. You always have to take care of the employees first. I got it. But we did everything at once. Keep thinking we have lots of money. I don't believe we have that money. And every time budgets go up, property taxes and taxes go up. So one of these days we'll figure it out. Maybe not today.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
and I can appreciate where Commissioner Hadcock's coming from, but where I'm coming from is that we bought a building, but we just didn't go out and buy a building and at the price that they were asking. We bought that building at a very good price. And if we waited 10 years to find that space, we'd be spending 5 to 10 times what we spent on this building. There again, it might not help this administration that much, but it's going to help the administrations 10, 15 years out. That was the whole goal. And there just isn't that much downtown space. We want to keep this campus in one locale. And, you know, it is what it is.
Look for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
I'd make the motion to move to authorize Buildings and Grounds to advertise the Pennington County Building Renovation Project at 14 St. Joseph Street for bid.
Moved by Drews. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Roskinek. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster.
My vote on this is going to be kind of an interesting one, and I know that I was against it when we went. I'm still again. I don't necessarily believe that we needed that. Maybe we need to sell it so that we could recoup. But we're moving forward with what's going on, and I understand we have to. Since we have it, we need to maintain it and we need to make it usable. So while my vote may be a yes for this, it is a disgruntled yes, because I think we could have done something better for our community and for the downtown area.
Thank you, Travis. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries with 1 no from Ms. Hadcock. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, now we got their agreement for Pivot Point. And Davis.
Yeah, so this is just a maintenance agreement with Pivot Point or with West River Mental Health that was put in place last year. It's just an update on it. We've only changed or had a few minor changes. One is the warranty work literature has been removed as there is no more warranty work because it's past its year. And then the other thing is West River Mental Health has taken on most of the responsibility of the day-to-day work orders and maintenance items in the building. B&G will continue to maintain their overall facility and operational needs. But other than that, that's about all we changed to that. So I'll stand for any questions.
Is there any questions for Davis?
Move approval.
Moved by Hadcock,
Second.
seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Item 18, items from equalization. I'll recognize Director Shannon Rittenberger.
Good morning. There's one abatement request in front of you. This is the abatement process is how we make this happen and what creates the paper trail. This is an adjustment to the assessed value from last year due to an appeal through circuit court.
Is there any questions for Shannon?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
move to approve the abatement application for tax year 2023 for Rushmore Plaza LLC, ID number 44118, for the amount of $111,904.34.
Moved by Roskinek,
Second.
seconded by Lassiter. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Next, we come up to item number 19, and this is items from Human Resources, and I'll recognize Risk Manager Walter McDuff.
Good morning, Commissioners. What I'm here today to ask is for you to extend the effective date on the concealed carry by non-law enforcement for our county staff. The reasoning behind that is because on the 19th, you guys passed it, allowed us to put it into policy to allow our staff to conceal carry with an effective date of the 29th of April. I've met with 3 departments since then, and there's some things that I'm learning that I need to take into consideration. So I'm asking for you guys to move that effective date to the 24th of June. That way I could have a chance to meet with all departments, take what their concerns are, et cetera, into consideration.
So moved.
Mr. Chair.
I got a
Second.
motion to move to June 24th by Hadcock and seconded by Drews. Mr. Laster for discussion.
Walter, if you don't mind me asking, what did we miss in our discussions? What was it during the process? Because I do remember the process was a long process. I mean, we were talking about it, if I remember correctly, back in January, February. What did we miss? What in this process did we miss?
Yes, sir. It actually came about in November of last year that we started this process. So this process went out to our departments, and then after it went into effect, staff was starting to ask their department heads questions, et cetera. And a few of the departments reached out to me where I met with with the department staff. Those 3 departments that I could talk about right now is Human Services, Highway, and Building and Grounds. Some of the concerns that came about is when you deal with, when you take Highway and Building and Grounds into consideration, their day-to-day job affects how you conceal carry. So there was questions of that. How do we move forward with them being allowed to conceal carry, but yet they have, let's take a highway worker that works out on our highways or our county roads, and blistering sun, they want to take their jacket off. Is that a concealed carry at that point? It is not. How do they store that firearm? Well, right now our policy says they cannot store it within a county vehicle because it puts us at liable. So we put that in there. If you remember, Commissioner, that's why we put that in there. So take that into consideration, as well as areas of concern. Let's take Care Campus, for example, well, as well as you commissioners know that we have human services located within Care Campus. Right now, the policy says that we can't carry in Care Campus. Well, we need to take in consideration that human services is located within that building, but they're a separate department. So that was another concern that came up. And then storage of firearms. How, as I mentioned earlier, how are we going to allow our employees to store their firearms? Those are the three main concerns that I wanted to take into consideration, as well as also be able to talk to our other department heads to see what their staff's concerns are.
Okay. Thank you, Walter.
Yes, sir.
Do have a motion on the floor to continue to the June 24th, November meeting,
June 24th of 2024, sir.
2024. Any further questions or discussion? Saying none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Awesome. Thank you, commissioners. Have a good day.
Walter.
Thank you for doing the research.
At this time, we come to item number 20. And this is new position, seasonal planning intern. I'll recognize Brittany Moulter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. I am actually requesting that we convert our current three-quarter time administrative assistant position to a three-quarter time seasonal planning intern position. The reason for this request is during the construction season, our field staff become increasingly busy. We have seen in recent years an uptick in the number of building permits and requests in our office. And with the building inspection requirement too, we are seeing that position see a lot of field visits that are creating just some extra work that we could use some help with. But rather than continue to pay for a full-time employee postseason when we're not seeing that, we figured a seasonal planner would alleviate the demand during construction season without an increase to our budget. Currently, we have a little over $25,000 budgeted for this three-quarter time position. This position would be 28 hours per week for no longer than 6 months at a DBM rating of a B21 Step 1 at a rate of $18.03 per hour. And that would put us over a little over $13,000 for the year. So we would actually have some budget savings and do some help within our office as well.
Chair.
Thanks, Brittany.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
Thank you for explaining that to me ahead of time, and then the benefits, there'd be no benefits on it with the 28 hours. So very innovative, and I know David's very busy up there. You're very busy up there, so thank you for what you guys do, and I think I appreciate you bringing this forward up front. Thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Roskinek.
Brittany, how many employees does your department have?
We have 9 full-time employees. We have 1 three-quarter time employee and then another three-quarter time employee.
So is that the same as last year at this time?
Yes, so it isn't an increase in the number of employees. It's just a conversion from a three-quarter time admin person to a three-quarter time planning intern. So their duties will be different. It'll be more on the planning side than the administrative side.
So when you said there's an increase in building permits, you got some numbers to support that?
Yes, we do a building permit report every month, and the past 3 years, our building permits have increased significantly. This year, we're starting to see another uptick. The last 2 years were a little lower. I think it had to do with construction costs and things. Now, things are starting to increase again. There are some big subdivisions within the 3-mile plating jurisdiction that have been implemented that we're seeing a lot of building permit requests in those subdivisions. So our building inspector is seeing quite a bit of increase.
Is there any particular area of Pennington County that you're seeing the heaviest growth?
Most of it is east.
Okay.
And within the 3-mile plating jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Drews.
I move to approve a new position of part-time seasonal planning intern, DBM B21, base pay $18.03 an hour, to authorize human resources to update the position listing.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
Next, that brings us up to items from the building committee. And I'll recognize construction project manager Kevin Bergen.
Morning again. If you recall, last commission meeting, I brought forth the first recommendation from the building committee to have FMG Engineering provide the soil analysis and stuff for the structural engineer for our new jail tower. This is our second meeting, and so I'm seeking approval of their contract. That's $22,912 to do all the soil engineering and work with us through the special testing and stuff
So moved.
for that building.
Second.
Moved by Hadcock, seconded by Lassiter. Any questions?
You want to read the motion?
Motion on the floor is to move to authorize Kevin Burton, construction manager, to sign the geotechnical service contract with FMG Engineering in the amount of $22,914. That was moved by Ms. Hadcock and seconded by Lassiter. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin. Next, this brings us up to item 22, items from the public. Per SDCL 125-1, speaker request form is required. This is a time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the Board of Commissioners on policies and issues affecting county government and its functions. Action will not be taken on this item on any issue brought forth that are not properly noticed. Speakers under this item will be recorded in the minutes by name and area of interest. And I do have a speaker request form from Ray. Ray, I didn't, you know I'll run that last name, so if you just identify yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm Ray Lautenschlager. It is surprising, actually, to see the opposition to the proposed ordinance, which will be taken up in item 24, and to hear the comments being made by commission members and other officials, comments such as, this isn't ready for a first reading, we need more time to study it, we need to take it around to all the department heads to see how this is going to affect their operations. These comments reveal that county officials either do not understand or know the law that they operate under, or that they simply do not believe they have to comply with it. Apparently, some county officials believe that they can do anything that the law does not explicitly prohibit. But that is not how it works in our constitutional Republican form of government. Under God, the people rule means that the people are the true sovereign, and through their elected representatives, the people grant certain enumerated powers to the government, which then exercises that authority within the limits of the law. Therefore, state agents may not simply do whatever they deem necessary, but only those things that are authorized by the law. The proposed ordinance is nothing new or novel. It is simply a mere reflection of current state law. Anyone who has consulted the two laws referenced can see that the wording of this ordinance is taken directly from South Dakota codified law. SDCL 124A2 defines a state agent as anyone who is vested with authority to exercise any portion of the state sovereignty. As a subdivision of state government, the county has no authority except that which is granted by the state legislature. And SDL 718A36 specifically denies to county-level state agents any authority to restrict or prohibit the lawful possession and carry of firearms in accordance with state law. From the highest elected official and department heads down to the lowest paid employees and volunteers, every county-level state agent must operate in compliance with the law. If the operation of any department or program would be negatively impacted by this proposed ordinance, then that operation or activity is already in violation of the law. So the real question here is not how this ordinance would impact county operations, but whether we need to clear up all the confusion by spelling out exactly what the state law requires. That's what this proposed ordinance does. It deserves to have a first reading today, and after 2 weeks of discussion and consideration, have a second reading at the next regular meeting. Anything less will be seen by the public for what it is, political stonewalling. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And I will say this is the first time this has been on our agenda, so I don't know where you're getting your comments from. But with that, we will move on. I have no further speaker request forms. I'd look to take a 10-minute break.
I'll second that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded to take a 10-minute break. It was moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. You ready? Okay, we'll come out of recess and we'll take up item number 23, items from planning and zoning. And I'll recognize, I guess I need a motion to come out of break. Look for a motion to come out of break.
Move to come out of recess.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Travis. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now
Mr.
it's
Chair, correction, it was seconded by Drews.
Drews. Okay,
Just want to make sure the record's clear.
okay. Seconded by Drews. And we, all in favor say aye.
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 Consent agenda, items from planning and zoning, Brittany Moter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following item. Item A is Plan Unit Development Overlay Review PUR 22-16 for Black Hills Weddings, LLC, Andy and Jen Pfister to review a plan unit development overlay for a specialty resort, and Planning Commission recommended approval of PUR 22-16 with 16 conditions.
Is there any questions for Brittany on this item? At this time, is there any member of the public who wishes to remove this item from the planning consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any, at this time, is there any commissioners who wish to remove this item from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
move to approve the planning and zoning consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now we come to our regular agenda items, contested hearings.
Item B is Plan Unit Development Overlay COPU 24-0001 to allow Plan Unit Development Overlay for a specialty resort. The applicant is Michael Valone with Provolone LLC. The property is located near the intersection of Highway 16 and Sammy's Trail. It consists of 10.6 acres. It's zoned Highway Service and Agriculture District, and it is currently vacant of any structures. When staff looks at a PUD overlay, it looks at the criteria for the PUDs and for the conditional use permits, and they are on the screen. I will just read the answers. The uses proposed for the PUD overlay district conform to the uses by right or conditional uses permitted in a highway service or agriculture district. The uses of the proposed PUD overlay district are of a type and are located to minimize detrimental influence upon surrounding properties. The uses of the proposed overlay district meet the standards governing area density and off-street parking of highway service and agriculture districts. The proposed PUD district is owned by Provolone LLC, a member-managed business, with Deanna Valone listed as the named agent. The uses are not designed to be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. The requested use on this property is they're looking at doing a specialty resort to include cabin rentals. Here's the site plan. Oops, excuse me. There's the site. They want 6 cabin rentals, 7 glamping sites, which are tents on a permanent deck foundation and observation deck, a caretaker's residence, bathhouse, playground, cooking area, and a reunion wedding recreational venue. This was heard by the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval with 39 conditions.
Is there any questions for Brittany?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Roskinek.
Brittany, was there any concerns with the ingress and egress off of Highway 16 and Samus Trail?
No, they are actually going to take access. This section line right of way actually is along this property line. So they are going to come off this Sammy's Trail and down here. The manager's residence is going to be in this location. So the manager's residence is actually going to take access off this private drive on this side. The cabins and the glamping sites are going to be down in here. That recreation venue is going to be located right about here. These are storage units that are actually owned by this property owner as well. This was a conditional use permit that was approved last year. For these storage units, they're almost completely built.
Chair.
Ron, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Ms. Hadcock?
For planning, I think it's a good planning move. It's a corridor for tourism all the way through 16, so I think it'll just add to the ambiance is what is happening on 16 in those areas right there. So, again, it's highway service, should be some kind of commercial on there. And what better than have some type of tourism industry on it? Thank you.
Any further?
Mr. Chair.
Laster?
Was there any concerns or anything from the public on this one?
I know that there was some questions from the planning commission about the property owner at 1995.
Which one's that one?
That is
Oh,
the
next
other
door.
structure to the west of it.
Right.
That property owner is working with them. I think there was just concerns about some views and other things, but the way that the property is going to be situated with those tree lines and things, it should be pretty well concealed.
Okay.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion.
Motion to approve with conditions for staff recommendation.
With the 39 conditions. Moved by Hadcock and seconded by Lassiter. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item C.
COSAC Environmental Planner. Item C is preliminary plan, COPPL 24-0004. It's to reconfigure lot lines to create lot 4 revised, lot 7 revised, lot 10 revised, lot 13 revised, lot 15 revised, and lot 18 revised of block 1, and lot 1 revised and lot 3 revised of block 2 in Pactola Heights subdivision. The applicant and landowner is Pactola Heights LLC, Ben Foslin. The surveyor is Davis Engineering. Current zoning is rural residential, and access is off of, or it's located near the intersection of Highway 44 and West Highway 385 along Chaparral Court. This has been in front of the Board of Commissioners before. On February 20th, 2024, the Board of Commissioners approved preliminary plan COPPL 24-0002. However, it showed a turnaround that you'll see it on the screen. If I can get this, oh, sorry. There was a turnaround that was vacated as well. However, when they came in with the plat, that turnaround was located in the wrong spot, so they didn't vacate everything that they needed. So they had to go through the preliminary plan again. So that's what we're doing here today, is we're just going through the plan. It's the same, everything's the same that was on the February 20th meeting. It's just that right of way is farther down on the next item. They're proposing to vacate that additional right of way. So with that, staff is recommending approval of preliminary plan COPPL 24-0004 with conditions with the Planning Commission's concurrence.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Turvis.
So Cody, what's being proposed here is everything what the intent was when they appeared before us before with the preliminary plan.
It was, from my understanding, there was just some mix up with the surveyor and what the applicants were requesting for the lot lines. And then when they came in for building permits and some other things, or to talk about building permits, that right of way, that additional right of way, they didn't vacate enough of it. So since they didn't vacate enough of it, some of those lot lines that they had proposed on that previous plat were incorrect. So that's what we're taking care of today.
So essentially, this is like a revised preliminary plan. This needs to be adopted before they can go in and actually vacate that original plat.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll if the Board of Commissioners wishes to, we'll vacate on the next item, and then there'll be some rezones with it. But they can't they can't file that plat, or they could file that plat the way they wanted to. However, it doesn't take care of what the landowners want. So if this was approved and the vacation and the future items that are coming up are all approved, they'd be able to move forward with the platting process.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
You done? Mr. Laster?
Move to approve COPPL 24-0004 with 8 conditions.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock. Any further discussion?
Chair,
Ms. Hadcock?
just so you know, the next 3 items are to do with this. Basically on the vacation, and then to make this so this property is having them move forward. These are the people that did a lot of work on Pectola Heights with our planning department, and planning commission did move approval on these.
We do have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D.
Item D is vacation of plat COVP 24-0004. It's to vacate a portion of platted right-of-way along Chaparral Drive. The applicant landowners Pactola Heights LLC, the surveyors Davis Engineering. So again, on February 20th, the board approved vacation of plat COVP 24-0001 and 0002. However, what that was, they vacated this portion when they needed to vacate this portion and all the way down to here, and they didn't. So what they're doing is they're trying to fix that by vacating this portion along here. So staff is recommending approval of vacation plat COVP 24-0004 with conditions and the planning commission's concurrence.
Chair,
Ms. Hadcock?
move for approval per staff recommendation with 2 conditions.
Second.
Moved by Hadcock, seconded by Lassiter. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E.
Item E is comprehensive plan amendment COCA 24-0004. It's to establish the future land use of a right-of-way with no zone to low-density residential district. The applicant landowners Pactola Heights LLC. So basically what we're doing is that portion that you just approved to be vacated needs a zoning. So the future land use proposed is low-density residential, and staff recommends approval of comprehensive plan amendment COCA 24-0004 with the planning commission's concurrence.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskine.
move to approve COCU 24-0004.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Laster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item F.
Item F is rezone CORZ 24-0005. It's to rezone a right-of-way with no zoning to low-density residential district. Again, the applicant landowners Pactola Heights LLC. So all this is doing is assigning the current zoning to that vacation or that right-of-way that was vacated. And staff is recommending approval of rezone CORZ 24-0005 with the planning commission's concurrence.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster.
Move to approve CORZ 24-0005.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Next, that brings us up to item number 24. These are items from chair or commission members. This is a time for individual members to bring forth ideas or concerns to the full board. Official action will not be taken on any items brought forth at this time. Direction may be given to bring items back before the board for future consideration. At this time, I will turn this over to, it's item A, to Mr. Travis Laster, who would want this on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to let everyone here be aware when I submitted this for the agenda, this is what I submitted with it as an overview, so I'll go ahead and read that. I'm seeking to place the following county ordinance onto the April 16 agenda for first reading. After the meeting on 19 March, citizens still have concerns with the possibility of guns being banned on public property, specifically the fairgrounds. I can't say that I don't disagree with them. The push from citizens is because of the statement or perceived statements from Commissioner Drews yes, we can if necessary, or something to that effect in that meeting. South Dakota gun owners and District 4 citizens have brought this ordinance forward. I did work with Jason in the planning department to get his take on the item to make sure that it was covered, that it covered all bases. As you all know, I'm a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment, and in the case of citizens, I agree with their concerns, and this might make it more clear for the citizens, and we won't have to have the possibility of dealing with this in the future, as it will be settled and clear. There's one other thing that I found out after I had submitted this, that there was a news media interview, and however it was taken, the citizens also had concerns with Commissioner LaCroix's statements about what we can and cannot do. So that's the reason why I brought this. I have talked to State's Attorney's Office, and they've pointed out some issues that they have with it, and I understand that. But I think it's a great opportunity for us to have some conversations with the public and with our and with our staff and with the commission on this particular ordinance for the county. So.
Thank you, Travis. And I'll go to public comment after this, but I'll also read my statement that I followed up to you in my email to you, if I could. And we had a conversation on Wednesday night. It was about 8:30 at night for about 24 minutes. And is something funny?
Yeah, why you had to put the time and stuff on there, I guess I didn't understand it.
Anyhow, I told Travis I would talk to some people, which I didn't. I ended up going back to the motel room and going through the agenda. And so that morning when I got up, I responded to Travis, and what I'd said was, after careful consideration and review of our April 16th agenda, your item fits best as items from chair and commission members, item 24, to move it to the beginning of the meeting would possibly create hardship on individuals who have items on the agenda. And then I gave examples, item 14, South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks presentation, and item B, Elevate Rapid City presentation, and item C, public hearing on budget supplement at 9:15. And then I said, with no Board of Adjustment items and only 6 planning items, the public who want to speak on your item would best be served if they arrive around 11 a.m. This would give them the best allotted time needed for discussions.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Roskinick.
You know, we talk about transparency, and Travis, if that's that important to you, you need to call me so that we can talk about this one-on-one instead of hearing it at the 12th hour.
Mr. Chair, I believe most individuals.
Mr. Laster.
Mr. Chair, I believe most individuals submit things for the agenda and they don't necessarily call or talk or speak to any of us. Oftentimes we have things on the agenda and I haven't talked to anybody about it. That hasn't been a standard practice that I see on a normal basis.
Well, I personally feel there's a significant amount of a lack of transparency with this, and that's just my opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster.
I understand. That's why I submitted it. I actually gave a reasoning when I submitted it to the chair, and then I actually submitted it so that we can have it in a public forum to have conversations about. So actually, I kind of followed what we've seen consistent with this board over the last 3 years and 4 months that I've been on this board. So.
Okay.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
So when we put stuff on the agenda, we give them enough time, you get to put it on the agenda by Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't seen a problem before. I haven't seen a problem with anybody's before. So why all of a sudden are we saying there would be a hardship and some other stuff on Travis's item? And it'd be first reading. And when you talk about first reading is where you do the discussion from the public and from the commissioners. We've done it over and over again, and I've done this for 10 years, 16 years doing politics, but I've never seen it where they put it under items from the chair because it's hardship. Because anything you talk about, we've been here till 3 o'clock on items before. And if we're talking about transparency on items, I never got a phone call. I think I've had one phone call in a year from our leadership. The year before, I think I got one. So the main thing with this board is communication. And when you're the leaders, the chair and vice chair, That's where the communication comes from this board. Now, you're saying lack of transparency, and he's not even leadership, and we've never seen that, at least two of us, in the last 2 years, and that's straight up. So
This item
this is kind of sad that this item, because of transparency, because of communication, that a person would put this item, which would be one of us two out of three others, that we put on something else than we would do for others on this board. That disappoints me. That disappoints me because there was nothing unofficial about this. It was first reading. Transparency wouldn't have mattered because the transparency in the conversation is in first reading. It all is a conversation about what we think and what the public thinks. So why we played the game, I have no idea. And then put it on under items from the chair. It's a very important item. Travis Lasser has made this over and over again. He's done the homework in Pier. He's done the homework in the fairgrounds. He's done the homework with the citizens. He's done the homework with our state's attorney's office. And what you just did, I think, was very disrespectful. That's my opinion. When you don't put somebody's first reading, when you don't have somebody that's worked and passionately have done something with an agenda item, and you decide that it's not that important, because it would be a hardship to change it when that item should have been on the agenda in the first place, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I've never seen this. I keep seeing a 3-2 vote. And what I see when we want something as commissioners, there's no communication. And then when we need something, it's the saddest thing I've ever worked with in 16 years, is trying to make a difference when there's no communication. And I said it when we were picking leadership.
Point of order.
That is the point of order.
Chair.
Mr. Drews.
I just want to clarify, based on Commissioner Lassiter's opening statement on this, that any comments that I made was made prior to the vote on the previous motion, which was language that you presented, Commissioner Lassiter, and was adopted word for word. And I believe that you received a unanimous vote approving that.
Mr. Laster.
I mean, he can make his comment. I agree we received a unanimous vote on that, but there's still a statement, and I didn't necessarily agree with the statement that the county commission could still, in emergency, ban firearms. That was my point. And that's how the citizens feel.
Okay. And in my discussions, this came forward on Wednesday, and it was sent to me in the afternoon, and then when I reviewed it is when I contacted legal, and it seemed like there were some problems with the writing in it. On top of that, that's why I decided it should go underneath items from commissioners, because I felt it would give some time for them to work out. Also with that, I'll hand this out to the commissioners. This is the resolution that this commission approved back in March 16th of 2021. And that is the resolution declaring Pennington County a South Dakota Second Amendment sanctuary county. This is something that we passed 2 years ago. And so when this come forward, that some of my concerns were, I apologize, I have to read this into the record for the audience. The Second Amendment Sanctuary County, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America is the supreme law of our nation. The Second Amendment to the Constitution states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed on. And whereas the Constitution of the State of South Dakota in Article 6, Section 24 states rights to bear arms, the rights of the citizen to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be denied. Whereas the right of the citizens to keep and bear arms is guaranteed as an individual right under the Second Amendment in the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of South Dakota. Whereas the right of the citizens to keep and bear arms for the defense of life, liberty, and property in regards to an inalienable right by the citizens of Pennington County, South Dakota. Whereas the citizens of Pennington County, South Dakota derive substantial economic and personal benefits from all safe forms of firearm recreation, hunting, shooting, conducted with the Pennington County as allowed under the United States of South Dakota's Constitution. Whereas it is a desire of the Pennington County Board of Commissioners to declare its support of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America in Article 6, 24, Section 24 of the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, protecting citizens' rights to keep and bear arms. Whereas Pennington County Board of County Commissioners fully supports the 96th legislators of South Dakota current Resolution 607 will strongly favor and supports the constitutional rights of citizens to own and possess firearms. It is also firmly opposed any efforts by the current administration to require registration, confiscation, mandated sales of firearms, and any other unconstitutional restrictions on the individual rights to keep and bear arms. Whereas the member of the Pennington County Board of Commissioners took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of South Dakota. Now therefore it be resolved that Pennington County Board of Commissioners strongly supports the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, Article 6, Section 24 of the Constitution of the United States of South Dakota, and that the board strongly believes that it is the right of the citizens of Pennington County to keep and bear arms for their defense of liberty, of life, liberty, and property, and further be resolved to defend the rights and liberties of the citizens of Pennington County. Board of Commissioners hereby declares Pennington County, South Dakota to be a Second Amendment sanctuary county. This we just passed 2 years ago, and I just thought I'd bring that back up again because that helps when you make decisions. Are we adding more regulations or muddying the water with this? That's why I felt with the discussion from legal and some other outreach that adding more language in to it could possibly create some more problems. I think it fully fit under items from commissioners to have an open conversation, to have some talks, but it's just been 2 years since we've done this.
Mr. Chair.
But that's why I wanted to make sure to hand this back out for a reminder that we do have this. Mr. Laster.
Thanks for reading that. And if you'll remember, last year we had a citizen who actually had their guns allowed entry into the state fair because we allowed an entity that was operating on county grounds to put metal detectors to prevent citizens from coming in. It means we didn't follow that. Many meetings after that, the citizens came and gave their concerns about that, and this commission recognized the citizens' concerns and said, yeah, we'll make sure that that doesn't happen again. So my point being is, it was a great resolution. However, when the Central States Fair brought it to our attention, it didn't raise any eyebrows, and that's why this is the citizens' concerns. I wasn't there when the board made that vote to do it. Commissioner Hadcock was there, but I wasn't. And so the point being is that we allowed it. And I think that's why the citizens, again, are bringing this forward because it's a concern, because we didn't do our due diligence to make sure that we prevented an entity from doing that.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes, sir.
For transparency, it was you and Ms. Hadcock who were on the fair board.
That's correct.
And you just said that you'd missed the meeting that they were voting on that. The whole commission as a whole wasn't brought forward to us. And from my understanding, Ms. Hadcock made the motion to install the metal detectors, from my understanding. And so it wasn't brought to the whole commission. If it had been brought to us with a concern, I understand you had some real concerns because you talked about how you were going to be there and you couldn't make that meeting. But in full transparency, it wasn't the whole commission that yes, there's going to be mistakes, and I think we dealt with it.
Chair.
It took us a while to work through the process, but I think we dealt with it and made it very clear that this is where we stand.
Chair.
Ms. Hadcock.
I disagree. So number one, I didn't make the motion. In fact, me and the Marine that was on there ended up going with the fairgrounds because we believed that the fairgrounds weren't secure. And at the time, unless there was issues, which are ended up being First Amendment and Second Amendment rights, this board was put in the know because those issues. There also was a legislator that brought forward a letter of apology, because she was the one, and it was brought to you, Commission Chair, for that apology from the Fair Board and from Commissioner Lassiter, if I'm correct, and Ms. Mullally. So in full transparency, this board did know. And at that time, I was the chairman that got this resolution and pulled it forward with some help from some of the citizens. So what they're saying now is because of the resolution that we have just put forward, it could have been on first reading because of the emergency clause, because of your comments in the newspaper, Commissioner LaCroix, and Travis's worry about Mr. Drew's comments and the citizens of Pennington County. They figured that they needed full transparency of this clause, of emergency clause, and that they brought this forward with their concerns. Again, I've never seen it where we haven't put in at first reading, we haven't had the discussion instead of on commission items or commissioner items, and you had in full transparency of this on Wednesday. It doesn't matter if it was or it wasn't going to pass, or that it should have been a discussion on first reading, because the state's attorney, they've had issues with many things on our agendas, and they will tell us on certain areas, you need to take this off, you need to put this on. Travis did work with them at this point. This is a serious concern for the citizens because we did sign something. I can say I made a mistake. I did say I made a mistake, and when they're going through this, I did, full disclosure, say that we owed the citizens, and I did apologize, and to Ms. Mullally for what happened at the fairgrounds. The First Amendment rights, they went as a board, a couple of them, with some of the people that were having issues with First Amendment rights, and those were a couple of children that were told to turn around their shirts. So later on, they did tell them they could turn them back on, but this board was in full, and to say that you didn't know about it and that it was me and Travis's fault, I'll keep saying.
I didn't say.
Communication, 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 because that communication was sent to all of us with a legislator and with Travis. So to say you didn't know about it, you were our chairman at that time, we were telling you about it. Commissioner LaCroix, that isn't full transparency.
Just for clarification, when this was signed, Gary Drews was chair. So, just for clarification, so right now, where we're at is there's no action on this. And there was some concerns of how the ordinance was written and so forth. So I have no speaker request forms on this. So
Mr. Chair.
the item would be give direction. Mr. Roskinek.
I think some of the decisions we made as a commission, we were looking at safety. Safety is always paramount. And when you say safety, when Mr. Jaspers here a couple meetings ago, I asked him why you could not have firearms in the courthouse. He said it's prohibited. He screwed it around the real answer. It was safety. Mr. Jasper wasn't in the courthouse in 1967 on the second floor when the gunshots.
Point of order, we don't need to beat on citizens, he already did that last time.
Let's not use names.
He's not here to defend himself, and so you tell
It's
him what he
been ruled.
feels.
It's ruled, okay. Mr. Roskinek.
So the point is that we acted, I think, just trying to do what we felt for the general public was safety. And so the reason firearms are not allowed in the courthouse, it's for safety. And the reason we took that action a couple years ago at the Central States Fair, it was simply safety. It's not that we don't believe in the right to carry firearms. And I think we've got it all worked out now, so it is what it is.
Mr. Drews, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Drews.
I was simply going to say that I think it's appropriate for commissioners to be able to say what they want to say without being called down. So
like
You know, I
citizens.
agree that, Mr. Loudenslager earlier had said that what we're trying to do is political stonewalling, and I would turn that around and say that's not what we've been doing at all. This has become a political event, not because of us, but because of Mr. Loudenslager in the South Dakota gun advocates, et cetera. And I agree with Commissioner Ross Connect that safety has been a priority. In fact, last fall, when this was first came to our attention for discussion, I think the discussions were all relative to safety. How do we make it more safe for those fairgoers going to the Central States Fair? We know that those are open grounds, that if somebody really wanted to get a weapon inside those grounds, that they could do that. And so probably unless you're just monitoring like the grandstands or whatever, you would not be able to stop somebody from getting guns into most areas of the fairgrounds in the first place. So in my mind, what we adopted here a few weeks ago, Commissioner Laster's request should settle that. I think that as I read the proposal that's here today, that most of this is already in either federal or state law. I don't think it needs to be done again in ordinance by the county. In fact, my understanding is that you don't necessarily repeat exactly what's in federal and state law and put into an ordinance, because that ordinance then can be found null and void. And so I think that what's in place now is more than sufficient for what's being requested. And I think that we were in agreement with it, or it wouldn't have been a unanimous vote. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Drews. Is there any comments from the audience on this ordinance? Megan.
Megan Kruger with the Pennington County State's Attorney's Office. So I just wanted to clarify some of the things that everyone has said that we have done and haven't done. I'd just like to start with, how do we actually get an ordinance through, from its inception up to in front of you guys for a first reading? So typically, when we receive an ordinance, our office, we receive them from county experts. So it's already been written by somebody who is knowledgeable on the subject, and they have written it with that knowledge. So it's been vetted, will you say, and then legal vets it. So once it's been vetted by experts, then it's vetted by legal. If there are no experts, then it's vetted by legal first, and then it's sent out to the most applicable people that we think would be able to speak on that particular topic. That usually takes anywhere from a month to 6 months, depending on what it is. And that's all before it ever arrives in front of you guys. So typically those ordinances that are arriving in front of you guys for first reading have been substantially vetted before they've ever been brought before you. The issue with this ordinance is we received it last Tuesday. And I think it was around 5 o'clock at night. So I didn't even have a chance to look at it until Wednesday. I immediately noticed that there were issues with it. There were typos in it, citations to law that doesn't appear to be applicable, potential conflicts with federal rules and regulations. And there's maybe other issues that we're not aware of because we just haven't had time to look at it. And ultimately it's one of those things where it's, what you guys see when you receive an ordinance is you don't see all the background work that's been done. All of the people that have talked about it, all of the people that have worked on it, and all of the legal vetting that's typically already been done on it. That hasn't happened here. Ultimately, it's my understanding that I don't know who wrote this. I know that it was written by citizens. I would like to know who wrote it. I would like to know what the real purpose is behind it, because as far as I'm aware at this point, no one in the county is proposing banning guns, as far as I'm aware. So I guess I'm confused about why are we doing this? I've been told that LRC reviewed it, and I'm confused because I would like to know who at LRC reviewed it, because I found blatant typos in it. And then additionally, there's the additional issue that I also received a new version of this ordinance just today that I haven't had any chance to look at. And I don't think that anybody else has had a chance to look at. So there are just a lot of problems with it. Just timing wise, that we need more time to look at it.
Thank you,
Chair.
Megan. Ms. Adcock.
So I respect that, Ms. Megan, because I've worked with you a long time and
Yeah.
how you do your work. But I also know it's first reading, so it could have been worked on with Travis or the constituent or whoever wrote it. Travis has been the one informing me on it. He's had the knowledge, and we have vetted this process through the fairgrounds. We've vetted it through Constitutional County. So some of it has been vetted. Again, not to put it on the agenda as a regular agenda, for me, it's first reading. We've done that, I've done that through the city all the way to the county when we haven't quite got it quite right. And we do that through the mining ordinance. How long has the mining ordinance been on there? We put a bunch of stuff forward at first for first reading, and it never went through because it needed to be vetted more and more. So the vetting process can also be by putting it on first reading. I understand and respect what you're saying, but I've done this a long time as well, Miss Megan, and we've had that respect to put it on, especially someone that has the passion. If it never went through first reading or it wasn't vetted enough, I understand that. But I think it also looks political when you put it on something else, when citizens have a concern. We've done road approaches, we've done silly things on this thing before that we've just put on agenda because someone had a concern, a real concern about it. So, and then to say that we should say whatever we want to say up here to the citizens, I don't think it's okay. I don't think when someone comes up and you have a computer today, people have a piece of paper, they have a phone, and you say, I don't take things to heart when we read it from a phone or a piece of paper. No, I think that's disingenuous. So today, I think we have a lot of issues going on here with people that just don't want to bring this forward as a first reading. I don't think it's the state's attorney's office. I keep saying, you have a guy that has a passion, and if any of you had a passion on anything you've done, we've always brought it forward because we had that respect for that person. And I think for Travis, this was a respectful thing, whether you guys said no or yes on first reading and discussion. It didn't have to come from citizens and stuff. I've never seen anything like this. I'm sorry. It's the truth. It's a passion. And he went to the state to actually pass those laws, worked with law enforcement, worked with citizens, worked with fairgrounds, everybody. It wasn't that hard to put first reading and be respectful. He's trying to tell you that. He's just nicer than me.
I was being respectful
That's not
by
respectful.
putting it on the agenda and giving people time to look at it.
Goodness unlocks.
Mr.
Chair,
Chair.
are
Point
there
of
any
order.
questions?
We need to be more courteous and respectful when you're up here.
Well, you ought to try all
Mr.
three of
Chair.
you then.
Okay. Mr. Lester.
The political process, the ordinance process, the legislative process, all of it requires first drafts, conversations in the public. I've taken bills to the legislature, some that we drafted, and it took us a while to draft them, and then we got it there, and then the legislature went through multiple amendments to it, and they were able to do it in a very short period of time. There's no reason why we couldn't move this forward, put it on an agenda, have a conversation with the public, with legal, with the organizations that are supportive or against this particular ordinance, to have that conversation moving forward. And since it is a request from the citizens, they still have those concerns based on public comments. I think I would like to move it forward in some aspects so that we can have some more conversation with it. I get it. Not everything we write is going to be perfect the first time we do it. I understand the challenges or even the concerns or the questions that State's Attorney's Office has with it. But you have to start somewhere, and then you start somewhere, and then you have the conversations.
My suggestion would be to work with legal on some stuff, to have those discussions, to work out what some of the problems are. That seems to be the concerns. Otherwise, if this was citizens led, they could petition for this.
Yes, correct. So if it's not brought by the county or the government body itself, it would require an initiated measure, which requires 5% of the voters of the Pennington County. I believe that's a little over 5,000 signatures.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lester.
as I understand it, though, citizens can bring it to a commissioner, and a commissioner can then still bring it forward.
Yeah.
There's no law against that.
No,
Okay.
and you're exactly right, Travis. Usually the way it's been heard, you'd like a sponsor. The citizen finds the sponsor to bring it forward, so. I'm just saying that there is other options.
You don't need a sponsor.
Are there any questions for me, Chair?
I'm getting back talking here, so
Well, you need to tell the truth.
Sure.
point of order, you don't have the floor, Mr. Drews.
You know, I think, as I said before, I think that we resolved this issue with the adoption of Commissioner Lassiter's last proposed change. And so, to me, it's settled. And so I think there's a lot of other things that, as commissioners, we'd like to work on. I don't want to burden staff with doing things that aren't actually necessary either. So I think it's done and resolved as far as I'm concerned.
I agree also. Mr. Roskinek?
I echo Commissioner Drew's comments.
With that, I see Tina wants, you didn't fill out a speaker request form, but I'll let you speak, Tina.
Public comment.
Thank you, Chair. You did ask for public comment, so I didn't feel I had to
I did.
fill out, so I appreciate that. And if Commissioner Drews is correct and this issue is solved, I'm still waiting for my apology. Because each one of you have voted that this is resolved and that there was an error made by putting those metal detectors up and denying me my rights. I didn't ask for a public apology. I actually asked for a letter directed to me. But the public apology was given to a couple of young individuals that had to turn their t-shirts inside out. If they can have that, I can't have a private apology when you say it's settled.
There you go.
I will say that's with the Central States Fair Board. With that being said, we are going to move on to
Chair,
Mr. Lester.
I would make a motion that we move to have this on the regular agenda for the next meeting so we can discuss changes to what I propose. I actually submitted a amendment, and so look at that for public comment and discussion.
Second.
Been moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock to put on agenda for discussion. Is that what I heard? Any further comments?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster.
I just want to make sure that it's understood that it would be on a regular agenda, not in items from commission with that motion.
That's what I was asking clarity for. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion fails.
Point of privilege?
We're done.
Nope. You can't shut me down, sorry. That's the rule. So, I think, we should give Tina a apology from this board because it was sent to all of us. I think that would be, something simple. And I kept saying it was something simple because all this board knew about it. And, she's a legislator and we owe her that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we go on to item number 25, which is meetings and committee reports. Mr. Lassiter, Central States Fair Board and Building Committee, Black Hills Defense.
All right, so Central States Fair Board and Building Committee, I wasn't able to attend because there was some conflicts. I was at the ES 911 Users Board and the EM Users Board, so for those, basically, and this is kind of again to give everyone a heads up, and I know Commissioner Drews talked about the surcharge increase. It's looking like it's going to increase the amount that the payout's going to be about $800,000 for our county. So for on that side of it, it'll be a big boost. They're listing, they've got some job positions open. They've got 9 that are open. They're down 9, I should say that, and they're working on getting some individuals in those positions. They're also looking at updating the Motorola bid to see if they can't get that at a right cost for the county. The bid was a little high, so they're working to get it lower. And then outside of that, for the users board, nothing major. They are going to be doing camera agreements with KNBN as well. So for those weather cameras on some of the towers. Then moving over to the emergency management user board. They're currently did another class of CERT training. 21 students are in there. Interesting, they had 5 of them from Wall, which was a family, and 6 from Custer was a family. So that was pretty neat that we're kind of getting a group in these outer areas that are interested, and maybe that'll carry on to have some more of those classes out in those remote areas. Their duty officer program is almost done. That's still being worked on and worked through. Some of the other big things is the Homeland Security grants. They applied, and the total award was $213,000 in those Homeland Security grants, and then they're going to be working on how they're going to rack and stack those. Could be more, could be less, but they're going off what they had last time. And current events, 22nd of April to the 26th of April is the cleanup timeframe that they do every year. And anything big on that one that I missed there that you remember, Commissioner LaCroix, because I don't remember anything off of that.
No, I think you nailed it with that grant and the students. It was a good meeting.
TIF Review Committee was in conflict with my symposium, the 2-day symposium with the Defense Symposium. It's a really good, informative symposium. A lot of information about water and a lot of the treatment, a lot of the mitigation that they're doing to prevent anything from coming off the base. They're finding some other migration of the water, so they're working on trying to prevent that. The base's main concern is just the mitigation of it coming off the base, and then the symposium is the overall mitigation in the communities. And so they talked about all the different processes that they're working on. Some of the things that they've learned is they can't burn it. It's not good to burn. And, there were some processes to burn it off of whatever the material it was in, so they're learning that that's not necessarily a good idea. So they're doing tons of research. The base is doing everything that it can do to help the impacted individuals here in our local area. They were very thankful for the county. This was recognized at the symposium. The thanks to the county for being amenable to having the town halls hosted here. It makes it easier for all those that are involved trying to have this mass communication with individuals, and they were very appreciative, and they wanted to pass on their thanks for allowing that to happen. Even the military leaders from the base recognize that as well. So outside of that, it was just more information, more updates about what's going on with the PFAS remediation and cleanup. It is still projected long-term. The big announcement that happened at that symposium, though, is they are moving to change the volume, the amount. When it came out and they instituted everything, it was 70 parts per billion. They're going to go down to 4 parts per billion is going to be the new standard. And so that's going to make more individuals impactful by this PFOA water contamination. So we're probably going to see some more information on that. That's about it.
Thanks, Travis. Gary Drews.
Okay, Western Dakota Regional Water System, that was a technical meeting to kind of bring everybody current as to what has been taking place as far as the engineers and so forth. I was not able to attend that. Rapid City Public Library Board of Trustees, They announced that the bookmobile is nearing its entrance into the community. And this has been in the works for a long time. Well, I was on the library board a year ago, and it was in the works at that point in time and prior to that. So it's a long time coming. The South Dakota Association of County Commissioners board meeting in Pierre last week was a good meeting. This was a planning session for the future for the association. Kind of look at what we're providing to our members and what we believe that we should be providing, including any additional items. Looking at staffing levels, budgeting levels, et cetera. Several committees will be working on that during the course of the summer to come up with suggestions and recommendations to that board. And then on the TIF review committee, I wasn't available for that either. So
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Thanks, Gary. Ron Roskinek?
Mr. Chair, I was gone for last few days, so I don't really have a lot to report on my committees. I did attend the groundbreaking yesterday for the Hill City Ambulance, which was well attended. And I think we're all aware of the building that got damaged, Memorial Park Apartments, which are under the custodial care of Pennington County Housing Redevelopment. And we do have a meeting tomorrow, and then we'll probably get some more information on where that's all going.
Thanks, Ron. Ms. Hadcock?
So, Planning Commission, we did today, there wasn't anything, the VHR ordinance will be on the 22nd. TIF committee had a process that I told them a month ago at the city that I wouldn't be there because I had some medical process that day. With the building, they are shoring it up at this time. There's some issues with the building underneath for integrity, where the three individuals ran into one of our buildings here over by the Civic Center. Unfortunately, a couple of them had lost their lives, so that was the sad deal. They do have 59 residences at the hotel over at the Rushmore Hotel, and we'd like to thank the Rushmore Hotel for helping us. We also like to thank the emergency management, the police officers, and the sheriff's department, and a lot of the emergency responders that were above and beyond that day for not only the individuals that lost their lives, but for our residents that day. So we'll get more information, again, like Ron said, tomorrow. But right now, they just shored it up and made sure everything was blocked off so people couldn't get in there. Our maintenance guys, thank you God, were there to help and stay overnight when that building was not shored up yet or was not blocked off yet to the public. So we thank them as well for taking the time out to take care of our building and our residences and the public.
Thank you. Mine compensation, we were in Board of Equalization at that time. And thank you, Gary, for the South Dakota Area County Commission's board meeting. That was very well attended and some very good ideas came forward on that as far as moving forward and seeing what they can do better. I think that was very well, and he did a good job running that meeting. The WIR Public Land Steering Committee meeting that we had last week was is very informational. There's still some very much dissent with the Forest Service on their plan, and that was very well voiced during that meeting. You know, as I said earlier, when they were talking about the old growth and so forth, a lot of the members, they made it very clear at the previous month's meeting that, you know, the Forest Board needs to come to each district and make their concerns separately and give the public comment that way. And so they voiced that. But there's some big discern. There's some changes coming around, and I'll probably be able to share that more once I get it figured out. They've got a new program on for taking the meeting notes where it's actually gets sent to you in a video and you can click on it, so I'll be able to share that more so we can get connected better. But I did also attend the Western Dakota Regional Water System technical meeting, and they had a report from a gentleman on the water levels, the time of year, what you're going to need, and they pretty much said, right now, where we're at right now is originally expected to be 20 years from now. So basically, the need has jumped up higher for right now. I don't have all the technical on that, but Cheryl Chapman will be able to update that. She was wanting to come before us in the next meeting or two. So that's what I can report on that. Next on our agenda is item 26, approval of the vouchers.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lester.
Move to approve the voucher for the Rose Inn LLC in the amount of $720.58.
I abstain.
So I have a motion to approve the voucher for the Rose Inn LLC amount $720.58 with a Hadcock abstaining. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Ross Connect. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lester.
Move to approve the remaining vouchers in the amount of $2,791,599.82.
Second.
Moved by Lester, second by Ross Connect. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
move to go into executive session for South Dakota Code of Fed Law.
We don't
have any.
We don't.
Nope.
Motion to
Move to adjourn. Second.
Moved by Hadcock, second by Laster. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.